Okay, I mean, right into the details. How about we zoom back to that 5% headline figure that caused all the fuss? Is 5% some kind of breaking point? Well, Bank of England's pretty mute actually on this point. The last time they mentioned a number for unemployment, it was us getting below 6% during the repair period after the great financial crisis. That was going to be a trigger to start to normalise interest rates. And that was an adjusted figure because it was part of Mark Carney's forward guidance policy, which caused a lot of fuss, but in fact was a pretty darn good idea, in my opinion. But when he introduced it, 7% was the magic number to get underneath, not 6%. Well, when was that? That was as recently as 2014. So it disturbed the markets a little bit because job creation was good at the time. There was a fairly quick lowering to a looser 6.5 or 6% unemployment, please, to ensure the markets accepted that rates would remain nice and low. As that progressed, there was then a referendum, which upset those macro plans and instead required a cut rather than a raise. And there was a mini repair back to 0.75% from the new low of 0.25%, of course, remember, until COVID came and we set another new low. All of that suggests, though, that 5% unemployment isn't particularly problematic. It's more the trend and the pace of change that always causes alarm or disruption. Round numbers, though, are always psychologically important. That looks wrong to me. And indeed, one of the questions I asked this quarter was, what if the bank is wrong about that? Because it looks like they are. And I referred back to the fact that 9 or 12 months or so ago, the bank's rep had stood at the same meeting and told us that the shock of national insurance on employers' hike would take 2 years to play out as far as the employment figures went. So the current feeling around AI, which is hard to pull out of the macro data, but it does seem that AI is being used for cost control and cutting rather than augmenting and increasing productivity in the first instance. And you could argue that actually that's what the big companies need to do because they need to be able to show some kind of return on investment that they're putting into AI. And if they can show that by cutting costs, stock market investors love nothing more than a period of seeing costs being cut.